Electronic waste may be defined as discarded computers, office electronic equipment, entertainment devices, mobile phones, television sets, and refrigerators. This includes electronics which are designed for reuse, resale, salvage, recycling, or disposal. In the world, many new electronics are constantly created, and society is expected to purchase these new updates. Apple has already sold millions of new iPhone 7s and are almost ready to put the iPhone 8 on the market. For many who bought one, the device replaces a perfectly good and recent model. Of the $206 billion spent on consumer electronics in the US in 2016, only 21% of the resulting e-waste generated was recycled. The rest was simply trashed. The electronics that are trashed is then sent to recycling companies which are supposed to recycle the electronics, but are commonly illegally exporting them to places in developing countries, such as Agbogbloshie, a small town in Ghana. Illegal exportation occurs when companies send substances to other countries without a legitimate permit, which needs to be approved by the government. According to a United Nations Environmental Programme report, up to 50 million tons of electronic waste, mainly computers and smartphones, are expected to be dumped in developing countries by the end of this year. That's up to 20% from 2015, when about 41 million tons of electronic waste was discarded, mostly into third world and developing countries, serving as global landfills. All of this electronic waste is poisoning everything around it, including the scavenging children burning electronics to try and get the valuable metal inside. Children as young as 5 years old go to the dumps to try and salvage small amounts of the copper from burning the electronics. Also, there are an abundance of food markets in Agbogbloshie. Many of them are located meters away from where the waste is being dumped. Therefore, the food in these markets are getting exposed to dangerous chemicals, which is then consumed by humans and can cause many deadly diseases such as cancer. Also, these chemicals from the e-waste drain into soil and water resources, which then become contaminated. These supplies are then used to grow and produce food for society, which is then consumed, causing, as I mentioned before, diseases and health disadvantages. Not only is e-waste terrible for one civilian's health, but children are also missing out on education so they can work in these landfills, which in long term affects the society's future in education. When education is taken away, crime rates also increase, as there is a lack of ability to get jobs to earn money. According to an SBS Dateline news report on e-waste, when valuable electronics are thrown away, there is still important and confidential information which is contained inside the devices. In Ghana, a common crime committed is identity fraud, as information from the e-waste is used and sold off to people in the community. Thankfully, there are some companies which are trying to prevent e-waste. Two companies I got in contact with was ZenRobotics and 1-800-Electronics. These companies are taking the initiative to prevent e-waste from affecting the world, more than it already is. ZenRobotics are focusing on an artificial intelligent robot system, which sorts waste more efficiently. According to Nina Lindrews, a staff member at ZenRobotics, sorting waste is very important to the environment, but industrial e-waste can be serious health risks to humans to handle. Therefore, such waste is sorted by robots. ZenRobotics plan to expand their company and have more factories in developed and developing countries. First, they plan on constructing factories in developed countries to prevent the waste from being exported. Then, in the near future, they plan to expand their company even more and work in developing countries to recycle the existing e-waste. By 2030, ZenRobotics will have factories functioning in developing countries such as China, Ghana, and India. ZenRobotics also estimates that by 2035, all e-waste will be eradicated from society in developing countries. This means that existing e-waste will be sorted in their factories away from people who should not be exposed to it. 1-800-Electronics are doing an extremely similar thing, but are mainly focusing on preventing the exploitation of the electronic waste. This company is an Australian-funded business which do most of their work through television advertisements and the decomposition of the matter. They aim to locally store the waste in different sections and not export it to developing countries.